Hello, you're welcome to Classic Data Lab, where we provide you with the needed skills to extract insight, add value, and make impact from data. In today's video, I'm going to share with you the basic knowledge you need to start programming with Python. At first, I used to think that Python programming is for people with computer science background alone, but that's a fallacy. Python is for everybody. All that you need to know is to have an overview of computer programming in general, an overview of Python programming language itself, and familiarize yourself with IDEs where you write your codes. So let's take them one by one. When it comes to computer programming, there are some basic terms that you need to know. Terms like code, programming itself, programming language, syntax, compilation, and interpreter, right? These are important terms that you need to understand. So let's take them one by one and explain them. When we talk of a code, it is an instruction to a computer to perform a task. And when we talk of a program, it is the collection of instructions for the computer to perform a task. So when you have one or two or three or more codes coming together to complete a task or to let the computer create an app or anything at all, that collection of codes becomes a program, right? And the act of giving these instructions or writing these instructions is what we call programming, right? So when we say someone is a programmer, that means that we are referring to the fact that the person can give instructions to a computer to accomplish a given task. Okay, and a programming language is a set of vocabulary and syntax for instructing a computer device to perform a task. So in as much as we have natural languages like English, French, Spanish, Chi, Hausa, Dagomba, or any language that you can think of, okay? The same way when it comes to computer programming too, we have different languages, the C, C++, JavaScript, Java, Go, R programming, and so on. So each of them comes with its own vocabulary and rules, right? Like the way we have grammatical rules in English, subject-verb agreement. The same way when it comes to Python programming, or when we talk of a computer programming language, it comes with its vocabulary, syntax, and reserved words. Okay, so when we also talk of a syntax, we are referring to the keywords that the programming language reserve, the operators, and then the grammar rules in that particular programming language, right? And there is a term called compilation. Compilation is the process of converting source code into a format that a computer central processing unit, CPU, can run, right? Whenever you give an instruction to the computer, the computer doesn't really understand your writings or your text that you have submitted. So what it does is there is another program called a compiler that converts whatever you have written into zeros and ones, and that is the language the computer understands. Computer understand binary, so it has to convert it to 0 and 1s. Then the central processing unit of the computer can process it, right? And the last one, an interpreter, is a program that runs each instruction, okay, and gives meaning to the computer. So it is the grounds that manages the inner intent and the user intent, and then the inner workings of a computer. So after the instruction being converted to zeros and ones, the interpreter helps the computer understand what you mean and act accordingly, right? So these are the basic terms that you need to know when you want to start programming. And the last thing is to understand the process of programming. How do you program a task, or how do you go about your programming process? Number one, first define your problem definition. Always define the problem you want to solve with the code. When you're able to define the problem very well, then you design a solution, right? Just design a solution as how to go about it or how you want the solution to be. After you've designed the solution, you write your instructions to achieve that solution or to implement that solution. When you, after writing your code, then you test it. You don't just put it into, you have to test to see whether it is functioning the way you want it to function before you even deploy it, right? Deploy means that putting your code into use. After you've deployed it, you need to maintain the code, because the problem may change as time goes on, and you will need to tweak your code to get a better solution, right? So this is the process that you go through whenever you are solving a problem programmatically. Great. So that's a quick overview of computer programming in general, right? Now let's take Python programming language itself. What is Python programming? Python is an interpreted, object-oriented, high-level programming language with dynamic semantics, right? It's a programming language for doing a lot of things, and it looks, when you are learning Python, you don't need to write your codes in zeros and ones. Okay, you write your code in a human readable form, right? Or a form that is more likely to our natural languages, like print hello world, select this, filter this, and so on. Okay, so that makes it a high level programming language. And then it comes with its own compiler and interpreter that translates it, or that takes it to the binaries for the computer to execute. And it is, when we say that it's object oriented, that means that anything you write in Python is seen as object. We will talk more about object oriented programming in the next videos. All right, now why choose Python programming? Number one, is a general programming language. That means you can use Python programming not just for artificial intelligence or data science alone. It can be used for web development, for cybersecurity, for mobile apps, for automation, right? For cloud computing, a lot. So if you are able to learn Python programming very well, then you can do a lot of things with it. If you want to enter into another career, you don't have to go and learn another programming language. You just switch with the knowledge that you have. It's also easy to learn. Since it's a high-level programming language, it's very easy as compared to other languages. Okay, you just have to understand the basics, and then there you are gone. Now it's also an open source. Okay, you don't need to pay for Python programming language. No need to pay anything. Everything is free when it comes to Python. It has a large community, making it easy to get assistance in time of need. When you're learning Python programming and you get stuck at a particular point in time, all that you need is just to do a Google search, and you will find dozens of answers to your problem, right? So this makes it easy to learn Python. It also works on almost all operating systems. So whether you are using Mac, or you are using Windows operating system, or Linux or Ubuntu, Python works with all of them. You don't need to worry about any operating system. And it has a lot of packages. Whatever task that you want to accomplish with Python, there's always a package, right, that will help you do that. And this makes it easy. You don't have to write codes from scratch or define functions or classes from scratch, because most of the packages has done that for you, right? So that's a quick overview of Python. But before we move to the last aspect, which is IDEs, let me teach you how Python works. Okay, so Python has a compiler and an interpreter. So anytime you give an instruction, let's say you say print hello world, this is high level, Python takes it and then converts it into binary zeros and ones. Okay, as you can see in the diagram here. Then the interpreter then transfer or transmit the meaning of whatever you've written to the computer to execute accordingly. Okay, so anytime you write a code in Python, it goes through that process, takes the code, converts it to zeros and ones, and then execute the instruction accordingly, right? And so you don't need to be doing the compilation yourself. It automatically does it for you. All that you need to do is just write your instruction, and that's all. Okay, let's now talk about the IDEs. When we talk of IDEs, it basically stands for Integrated Development Environment. these are the applications where you write your codes. Okay, the enhanced programming. So when you are writing in the natural sense, you may need a book or a paper, right? When it comes to computer program, you don't need a book or a pen or paper. You just have to write on the IDEs or in the IDEs. When you are take IDEs to be, let me say, editors or interface that contains all the tools a programmer needs, right? So if you want to write a program, all that you need is to bring all your tools together, and doing that by yourself will be difficult. So IDEs brings all these tools together, and the tools include code editors, right? So a code editor is basically like a text editor, just that it's rather meant for writing codes, not just creating documents. Okay, right? So that's a code editor for you. It comes with a code editor allowing you to write all your instructions on it. It also IDE also comes with compilers, right? So these compilers, as I mentioned, transform your source code from human readable form to a computer readable form, right? So that the computer can execute it. IDEs also comes with debuggers, right? These are tools used to for testing and correcting errors in your codes. So when the time you are using an IDE, most of them, they come with these debuggers, and you don't have to struggle doing these things manually. They help you do this debugging, right? And then finally, they come with automation tools. Some of the tasks that you do it repetitively, you can automate them in the IDEs. Common examples of the IDEs include Jupyter Notebook for Python, Visual Studio Code, PyCharm, Atom, Sublime. Okay, so these are IDEs that you can use to for Python programming. All right, as a beginner, I would recommend you start with Jupyter Notebook if you are learning Python for data science or artificial intelligence. But if you are learning Python for web development or any other thing like cybersecurity, I would rather recommend you start with Visual Studio Code, okay, or PyCharm. For Atom and Sublime, they are very light and usually used for basic code. But if you want to write heavy codes, I would recommend you use either Anaconda distribution, that's Jupyter Notebook from Anaconda distribution, or you use Visual Studio Code. Yeah, so as just a recap, for you to start Python programming, just take an overview of programming in general, understand or familiarize yourself with Python programming language itself, and then also understand IDEs. Okay, if you get to know these three things, then you can start programming. It doesn't matter your background, right? So in the next video, I will teach you how to install these IDEs, then we can start programming. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video. Bye for now.